Now that surprised you, didn't it? Don't often see me on screen. So this is in response to Gwyn and John, who said, why don't you ever appear in your videos? Well, that's the reason for that. Don't like the look of myself, to be honest. But I thought about it and I thought, well, what can I do to finally appear on one of the videos that I put out? And myself and Alison, we watch a lot of YouTube videos of guys talking about their DVD collections. I'll mention a couple that we really like, and that's Keith at Euphoria Pictures and John, a fellow Geordie, whose Mondo Chelovic channel is really good. So as it's October, I thought I'd talk a little bit about some horror stuff. Some predictable, maybe some others not so predictable. It's basically just our recommendations for a good watch in the lead up to Halloween. So we'll start with 3 Hammer films that we particularly like and go back to quite frequently. First up, The Mummy, Peter Cushing, the great Peter Cushing. Thoroughly recommended, and I really can't get enough of that film. The original, or the first Christopher Lee Dracula. It's great. I need a better version of this, so we're hoping that when Hammer start releasing their 4K versions, this is going to be one of them. It has to be. And actually could go on to do a lot more Hammer. Leave it at that, those two are good. But while we're still on the subject of Peter Cushing, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. We watched this again just the other night. It's brilliant fun. And that is a very nice steelbook. We'll start with The Fall of the House of Usher. Vincent Price. Maybe his finest hour, who knows. It's great, and it's very creepy at times as well. Creature from the Black Lagoon. This is the Legacy Collection, which has the 2 sequels as well, which aren't as good as the first film, let's be honest. But again, the first one is a classic. Another one we watched recently is, again, it's Vincent Price and the brilliant Diana Rigg, Theatre of Blood. This is a really nice Arrow edition of this particular film. Brilliant. If you like revenge films, this is for you. One of the best foreign horrors I've seen over the years, Dead Snow. There's a sequel to this as well. Zombie Nazis in the Snow. I mean, what more could you ask for, really? It's full of blood, full of guts, full of laughs as well. Well recommended. Sticking with foreign horror, and again watched very recently, for I don't know, maybe about the 6th or 7th time, is The Spanish Wreck. It's just an overkill of shocks and scares. I love it. And I also like the sequel, Wreck 2. And there's another couple of sequels / prequels as well, which are probably worth checking out. We've got them. This is just a thrill ride. I love it. One of Alison's particular favourites is this one, Night of the Demon. If you've never seen it, it's a brilliant British horror film from 57, I think, 1957. It's a classic. And a more recent British horror, a Neil Marshall film, The Descent. Again, another good sequel for this one, but the original is brilliant and scary. So moving on, this is another must for a Halloween watch, the Amityville Horror. Bit of an obvious choice, but it does what it says on the tin. It's really, really good, and some brilliant scary moments in it. To more recent times, big fan of the Conjuring films, The Nun, Annabelle, all that stuff. This is a box set with 7 of them in. I think it's only missing The Nun 2, which we have. Every one of these films is creepy, and this is a franchise that I really love. So heading back to the 1960s, when I first saw this film on TV, it frightened me to death. This is The Haunting. Probably my favourite sort of haunted house film. I mean, there's a lot to choose from, but this one would come out on top for me. This next one goes back to 1930, and it's Freaks. If you haven't seen it, you must check it out. It is unique, a brilliant Todd Browning film. I've seen this countless times, and I still think it's got the power to make you shiver. Yeah, shiver's the right word, I think, for this one. Freaks. And one of the all-time classic horror films, John Landis's An American Werewolf in London. This is a 4K edition. It's got all the bells and whistles in it. One of my favourite 4K releases. And if you haven't seen it, why? Why not? Come on. Next up, George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. My favourite zombie film by quite some distance. And this is another fabulous release, the 4K edition of Dog Soldiers. Another Neil Marshall film, following on from The Descent. If you haven't seen Dog Soldiers, it's a werewolf film with a bit of a difference. I'll say no more than that. So if you're going to discuss horror films, you can't really leave out John Carpenter. Got 3 here. I mean, the choices I've made are obvious, but they've got to be included because they're so brilliant. First of all, Halloween. Everyone knows this one, surely. Still the best slasher film that was ever made. Can still make you jump. It's a classic. It's a classic horror film. The other 2 Carpenter films I've picked out are The Fog, which is genuinely creepy, and some people might not class this as a horror film. I would. It is The Thing. Incredible special effects for the time. In fact, they still look incredible. The Thing is possibly in my top 3 horror films of all time. He's the one I think everyone's probably seen. You know, I've seen it possibly 20 times, including about 4 in the cinema, and it is The Omen from 1976. Superb. I have to say that we enjoy all the Alien films, but the original Ridley Scott probably has the edge over the rest of them. I mean, we even like Alien vs Predator and those other strange sequels that came out. But anything Alien, we've got it. But this one, still the daddy, I think. Alien, Ridley Scott. Again, this is one that people might even class as a horror film. But this, again, I think it is. Jaws, and a really nice steelbook for it, for this Blu-ray. I haven't got the 4K, but I think we will get around to getting it, because Jaws is just an amazing film, and still is, nearly 50 years on. Definitely a horror film, or horror franchise. Saw. Got to include it. I remember going to see the first Saw film in the cinema, and I went back a second time the following night because I couldn't believe how good it was. And to be fair, nearly all the Saw films deliver. If you like blood and guts, if you like inventive deaths, Saw's got them all. Back to the silent era for Nosferatu. Really lovely looking steelbook here. This is creepy, really is creepy, and still looks brilliant and frightening as it stands today. Nosferatu. Back to more recent times for this one, based on Stephen King's book. It's The Mist. It was a good TV series as well. I don't know whether you saw that, but that's worth catching out. The Mist is a monster film. You're never quite sure what the monster is, but it builds up the tension. It's just brilliant. I love The Mist. I'll watch it tonight. It's that good. From the early 1980s, one of the creepiest films you'll see. George C. Scott's in this one, The Changeling. You'll never look at wheelchairs in the same light again. This is really good. Down to my last three for this one. Danny Boyle's 28 Days Later. A zombie film, but it's a bit more than a zombie film. There's all sorts going on in this. Well worth it. One here that a lot of people think is a sci-fi film. I think it's horror. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and this brilliant edition from Arrow Films. This is the 4K version that I appreciate at the minute, because those who do know me know I'm having some problems with my eyes. But when I get these glasses, at the end of all this treatment, I'll be watching all these again, and I'll see them for the brilliant films they are. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, classic. And finally, and those who know me will know that this is coming, my all-time favourite horror and my all-time favourite film, The Exorcist. This one here cost a fortune, a brilliant 4K edition. I love the film. It's notorious, it's classic, and the only film that genuinely scared the pants off me when I saw it in the cinema. Saw it in the cinema when I was 15 with my dad. And I remember as we came out, I mean, this is at the height of Exorcist mania. When we came out, Samaritans were there handing cards to people who might need some help. Never ever seen that before or since. It did frighten me, and it caused me a couple of sleepless nights afterwards. And I've never said that about any other film ever. The Exorcist. There's also this brilliant steelbook edition of it. HMV exclusive, I think. I tell you what, I do miss my HMV discount. Those were the days. And there you go. My favourite film of all time. So that's it then. Hope you enjoyed my little ramble to the camera. That was for Gwen and John especially. You might shut up now. If you want to hear me waffle on more about films, the collection behind me, music, I might be persuaded to do it again. But let me know below, and I'll put a couple of links in for the two guys I mentioned earlier. Their channels, really worth a look if you like your DVDs, and especially horror. That's it. Bye.